Welcome to Electric Lawn Talk. Each week, the electric lawn care professionals get together to talk about the electric lawn and landscape business and have some fun along the way. Whether you are in the business, thinking of getting started, or just want to hear the tips, tricks, struggles, and victories of the move to electric, you are in the right place. Let's get started.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Electric Lawn Talk. Stephen here with EcoMow Lawn and Landscape out of Dallas, Texas. Got my man Sean with Luminary Lawns up in Maryland. Jake with Green Team Denver. Jarmar with Peaceful Lawn and Garden down in Houston, Texas. And we are joined by Mr. Alex Kirby from the GreenUp Academy. Welcome, Alex.
What's up, Stephen?
How you doing tonight?
I'm good. Hey, Sean, who's in Dallas? Stephen, you're in Dallas?
I am.
I don't know if you knew, but Mark Cuban sold the Mavericks today.
What?
I meant to tell you that. I'm a big basketball fan. He sold the majority at like an hour ago.
Wow. Any idea who the buyer was?
Yes, he is. I'm a nerd about this stuff, but he sold to these casino people because what he wants to do is get Texas to make gambling illegal, and he wants to put a new arena and a casino in Dallas. And so he sold to the casino like top people. So he actually held control of the team somehow, even though he sold majority stake. And but basically they're going to finance his new arena is what it sounds like. That's
fascinating. I wonder if it's the guys from Oklahoma. Would it be the Choctaw or the Cherokee guys?
The Ansel and Adelsons and Adelson family. Adelsons. Yeah, I'm a big hoop fan. Love hoops.
Yeah, well, we're putting a pretty good season together this year. So, and we're coming off a World Series win. So,
I was gonna say, haven't you guys had enough luck over
there?
Yeah. Simmer down.
All right, so Alex, want to dig into, you've got some exciting rollout. I spotted it. You've just rolled out the GreenUp Academy. Okay, so give us a rundown of your background and why you started the GreenUp Academy.
Well, first off, Stephen, thank you for giving me this platform to talk about it. And the boys, Stephen and the boys. I like that. So basically my background, Stephen, in like a quick nutshell is I started, I was a pastor as of my first career and was broke. My wife and I lived in a rich suburb of our city here in Columbia, South Carolina. And I just had no idea how to make more money than a flat salary, basically. And so this guy asked me, or I was praying about ways to make money on the Friday I was off. I was off on Fridays. And this guy was like, posted on Facebook 4 days after I was looking for ways and said, hey, someone mow my grass $40. And I was like, yo, I'm there. I had never mowed grass. My dad did our 2 acres. I did not know how to edge. I didn't know how to run a weed eater. I'm talking zero. And so I'm driving over there watching YouTube with a push mower and a borrowed blower from my dad. Long story short, the neighbor comes out and asks me, and I'm like in this rich neighborhood, and I'm like, how do these 2 rich people not know who to call for lawn care? Like, how's that possible? And basically the idea came to my head. I was like, you know what? I could probably get 8 yards on Fridays. And so long story short, I started doing it for about 6 months on the side, quit the church, started going full time in January of 17. I mean, and it just took off from day one. I knew how to sell. I knew how to market pretty early. I did $250,000 the first year with just me and one guy, 500,000 year 2, and we did $1 million in year 3. And where I kind of got known for on social media, this is before like social media was 17, 18, 19. It wasn't, crazy popular. I think COVID really made social media stuff blow up. But I was 26 with $1 million debt-free business. And so everybody kept DMing me all the time, like, hey, are you seriously debt-free, like at 26 with 4 trucks? Like, how did you cash flow that? Yeah. And so I just kept answering all those people and started doing content based on the questions that people were asking me. And so that was really how I got a bigger following on social media. So I love helping people. Consulting and marketing has always been something I really feel passionate about. I've probably done, now going up to how I started the GreenUp Academy, I've probably business coached 50 guys through my program. which is a lot. It was 7 or 8 hour programs, you know, when it was all said and done. And so probably in like 21, I was starting to think about starting a marketing company to help tradespeople do what I did with Google and SEO and websites and all that.
Mm.
And I was like, you know what? There's really not an academy. Like, how do I make this to where instead of me having to get on a phone call for 7 hours with a guy, I can make something that he can watch it and then call me for an hour and ask me questions about what he watched.
Yeah.
Like that was the first thought, was like, how do I do that? And so I started hiring guys to start a marketing company and sold my landscape business. That gave me I just sold my landscape business about 3 months ago. And so it gave me the time to start the GreenUp Academy, which is, in a couple sentences, it is not a way for me to make a lot of money. First off, disclaimer.
Okay.
You know, because I say that, and we were talking off air, is like, I've been blessed. I don't need anyone's money. I need the money to pay for the great content that we're doing.
Yeah.
So I've got a team of 3 people full time working on this academy. I'm like, that's all they do every day right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I flew to Tulsa, Oklahoma 3 weeks ago. I flew to Fayetteville, Arkansas. I've got to be able to pay for the time and the resources I'm putting in to do it.
Sure.
So what it is it's an academy that's not about me. My hope is to fly across the country with my team for years to come, and we go to people who have unique things that they bring to the industry that we can teach people how to do. So we're doing a Christmas, like, for example, my friend is a Christmas light king. His name's Trey Lambert. And so we just film with him, and he's teaching people, giving them the confidence on how to start a Christmas light division for their business.
Mm-hmm.
I've done 6 courses that are coming out in January, but then my hope is to fly around the country next year 4 different times with different people who are great at snow plowing. Maybe they have multiple franchises. Maybe they have like whatever it is to help green industry people based on the feedback we get. We're going to create hopefully the best, you know, community of content for anybody. Anytime you have questions about anything green industry, you come to our academy, and we're hopefully going to have a course for people looking.
That's great. So you mentioned you've got 6 courses that are going to be going live in January. Yep. Is that right?
Yep. January 15th, I believe.
Okay. Give us a sneak peek on what those 6 courses are.
Sure. So we're calling it our foundations bundle. So basically it's sales 101, marketing 101, finance 101, employees 101. And so the first one I'm actually giving away for free. If people sign up for the academy, we have 2 things. You can either buy content, which is courses. We have 20. I just paid somebody for 3 months to work on 25 resources for the academy. So, like, for example, if you want a handbook for your company, I just made a 20-page handbook.
Okay.
That is, like, people don't understand how much time I'm putting into this. Like, this is real life, you know? So we just created a robust handbook. So you can buy that for $20, you know, $30, whatever it's going to be. So you can either buy stuff, one-time purchases, courses, resources, etc., or you can pay I think it's $139 a month to be a part of our community, so that we can have conversations like this for people who don't have the money to buy stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, everyone should have $100 to be a part of a community where you can get coaching, consulting, answers to your questions, webinars for free. So that's the other stream. Because I remember when I first started, you guys probably did this too, but maybe not. When I first started, I met for breakfast with the 2 best lawn care guys in my city. They were older guys, and I was like, hey, if I pay for breakfast, can I get an hour of your time a month? And if I didn't get those answers from those guys, because again, before social media, 2017, I didn't even know that you could like DM people and ask questions. I had no idea.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So, I mean, if these 2 guys weren't retiring and answering my questions, I don't know how I would have known how to price. I don't know how I would have known how to print out flyers and where I should canvas. I don't know how I would have known about door hangers. So for me, you know, this is the way to do that with people on the internet and not just having to find someone in your local area. So,
yeah. So are you also going to have access to flyer? You mentioned a handbook. So I guess if we were starting a company or needed a handbook, we would be able to get a handbook from your company?
New hire packet. We're going to have new hire packet resource. We're going to have incident reports. I mean, like anything you can think of for your company is going to be available. Then the next wave of resources will be marketing materials. So that'll come out probably, we're hoping like February and March, right before the spring rush, is white label marketing materials as well.
Got it. So these 6 modules you mentioned is marketing 101. Is that module number 1?
Yeah. And there's 10 lessons per module. So it's like, it's not, 2 minutes, it's 4 to 6 minute lessons. So you're talking about an hour per course, of me talking and me teaching. And the bundle we're doing. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. It's not a little thing. It's a lot of content.
Got it. Jarmar had a question earlier. He asked, and maybe this question's more appropriate for later, but I've already kind of dug myself into it. Are you guys doing an affiliate program for anybody that wants to be a reseller?
We are. We're doing, anyone who's a member can be an affiliate partner. And then we're doing influencers too, but we're not only going to have 4 or 5. But if you're a member of the Academy and you believe in the Academy, I don't want to have affiliates that just want to make money. If you understand the value that the Academy is going to bring with, then yeah, there's definitely going to be affiliates for sure.
I love it. Jake, did you have a question?
Yeah, absolutely. I do. I actually have 2, if that's okay.
I'm got all night, buddy. I'm good.
All right. Awesome. So it kind of sounds like a lot of the stuff that's going to be in the Academy is going to be kind of like best practices and everything, which makes total sense as when it comes to sales and marketing and stuff like that. But if I'm chucking the truck, so to speak, or Joe Schmo out there, say maybe I have 2 crews, or maybe even say I have 5 crews. Why should I care about handbooks or those types of best practices, incident reports, all that sort of stuff? I mean, because let's be honest, the Green Academy, or sorry, not the Green Academy, the green industry, we're kind of notorious for kind of flying under the radar or under the table.
Flying by the seat of our pants. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So why should we care, or should we care about these best practices?
That's a great question. I mean that because everybody thinks it's not going to happen to you until it does for some reason, because it's so easy to start that you take that easy mentality into how you grow your business, right? You can get $5,000 can get you into business and make $5,000 in a week, legit, if you hustle, right? We know that. The problem is that mentality, and this is why we're not respected like welders, electricians, and plumbers. We're a trade. I believe we're a trade just like any of them, except we don't treat ourselves like they treat themselves. For example, they all have certifications. They all have uniforms. They all work for great companies. They have benefits, blah, blah, blah. Lawn and landscape people almost are like garbage men of the trades. And because we don't take ourselves serious. So, Jake, you asked that. When I was in year 4, so just for the listeners, I just sold my business for more money than I ever thought I would. And I had about 12 employees at the time in 2020. I had a guy, and I did not have I don't think I had an incident report for him yet. I think we were talking about it, but ironically, he bumped somebody on the interstate. Okay. And I was just telling my wife this story last night, actually, about I can't believe we got away with this at the time. So I went and met with them, and thankfully the state trooper had a camera on and audio. It was a young girl that he bumped, and in South Carolina, if you don't cause damage, it's only a small citation. It's not called a wreck. Okay. So thankfully the young girl said, "Hey, nope, there's no damage. I'm fine. I just got to get to work." Cop said, "Okay." We signed a $100 fine, went about our way. Next day, my insurance company gets a call. Her father was a lawyer, and he told her to claim bodily injury. So because we had everything wrapped, we were she could tell we were a big company because the owner showed up, right? Or bigger company than chucking a truck. Well, thankfully, I got the video from the cop's camera, or else I would have got sued and definitely lost. But that made me realize how much I needed incident reports, which meant who was driving, who was in the truck, so I could give it to my lawyer if I needed to say, here's who was there, here's my witnesses, here's the area that it happened, all those things that ended up not costing me, thankfully, because the camera. But what if I didn't have that footage? And so there's so many times, I mean, rocks through windows, for example. Like we started doing incident reports for rocks through windows because we had a couple commercial clients who we needed to make sure that they realized if our guys took a picture of one that wasn't us before they got there, I made them file an incident report out so that we could show them, hey, we didn't do this. You can't charge us $400. So I hope that answers your question, Jake. But like, it's so needed. It's so silly how needed it is. But because our industry doesn't take ourselves seriously enough sometimes, it's why people just I don't need that. Why do I need a handbook? How about 10 months ago, before I sold my business, I was up to 20 employees. We had our first guy try to file a fake workers' comp claim. And that almost cost me $10,000. But thankfully, I had cameras at the client's house. We got the cameras. He didn't file workers' comp properly. I had a handbook that said you have to tell us about your injury. It has to be within 24 hours. It was 48 hours because he was faking it. And thankfully, I had a handbook that laid all this out, and he got scared because he signed a handbook. So he dropped the workers' comp claim, and we fired him 2 weeks later. So I think those are two good examples of why they're important. Is that answering your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you laying that out for us. Thank you so much. And then my follow-up question is, and I kind of feel like it's already been answered to some extent, but the question is, how is the GreenUp Academy different than some of the other academies that have come out? We've seen, a handful of them throughout the green industry. But in your own words, how is it different?
I would say the biggest differentiator is it's not mine, it's everybody's. And so, like, Mike Andes has a great thing, but his is really focused on Augusta Nation. There's no doubt about it. He's trying to grow his franchises, which grows his whole portfolio. That's fine. And Mike, I respect Mike a ton. Then we've got 3 or 4 influencer guys who are sort of making courses and sort of having academies, but they're doing it to promote a product that they have a partnership with, or they're doing it for various reasons. And we've talked about this off air a little bit. They really don't have the pudding to be having a buffet. That's not exactly what I mean, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't really have the track record to be saying all these things, and the content is really just regurgitating what they've heard other people talk about. And for me, I had 100 employees over my career. I had a multi 6-figure business. I had a successful sale, which, is not me bragging. It's just, it puts me in a unique position. I was 27 years old with 20 employees, and I have a lot of experience on things that worked well. I was debt free. We had great equipment. We marketed well. I have a lot to give, and I have a lot, but this academy is really not about me. I'm launching it first because of my background and my, the way you have to launch an academy is with yourself. But over the course of the next 12 to 24 months, I really want it to be Jake to have a course. I want the best snow plowing guy to teach people how to price snow. And I'm going to fly my team there, and they're going to spend 2 weeks, and we're going to film a course with the best snow plowing guy. So for me, it's going to be way more about getting the best people in the industry in one place and one platform, so that if someone wants to grow, this is where they come, and not about me and my courses. And it's really not about me. It's about, I was talking to you guys off air. The green industry literally changed my life. I mean, I was broke, married with $1,200 in my pocket when I started my lawn care business. And now I'm well off, which is not a big deal. The biggest part is I have 3 kids who have a house that they know they're never going to lose. I've got a wife that gets to stay home and teach them and not have to send them to daycare or send them to wherever school we have to send them to. We get to choose to do that. But the biggest thing is now I get to give all the time. I get to help people in my community. I get to give to my church. And I want people in this industry to experience life change and not feel hopeless. I talked to a guy today, not to keep talking. I literally talked to a guy today at 4:00 who messaged me. He's like, hey man, I want to join the GreenUp Academy, but I literally am negative in my bank account. And I was like, and I messaged, he has 7 kids. I was like, bro, how are you negative in your bank account? He's like, he told me the story. And I'm like, I'm going to give you a scholarship. Like, you're the guy that needs this. Like, it's not about making $100 from him, you know, it's about helping people. And so we're going to give scholarships, and we're going to help people who can't afford it, literally can't afford it. We're going to make them prove it, obviously, but, it's time for this to happen. If it wasn't me, I wanted someone else to do it, you know. But thankfully, I sold my company. I have the time, and I have the marketing team to film it and edit it and all that stuff. So
that's amazing. It sounds like you saw a need, and like you said, we were talking off air, and you've had this in your mind for 5 some years, and you're finally just in a position to give it its due diligence. It sounds like, and it sounds like you're really going for it. And it sounds like too, it's like the working man's academy. You know, this isn't a bunch of fluff, a bunch of this and that. It's like, it's going to be hard hitting, like return on your investment type of material.
I think so. Like our bundle price right now for my 6 courses and all 25 resources is $900. Like, I don't know what world anyone else lives in, but to me, if I said, hey, a guy who's in the top 1%, I can learn from what he did and have every resource forever for my company for $900. Like, to me, that's a really fair price. Like, you guys tell me if you don't think it's a fair price, because then that'll make me think about it. I'm cool with being told it's not a fair price, but to think that I could get 6 courses to help my business from a guy that people do know my voice and 25 resources, I think that's a pretty good return on an investment. I'd love to know I would love to know that, like, at what price point, and I'm putting myself on the spot here, at what price point is something fair?
Yeah, really the proof will be in the pudding, right? You know what I mean? Like, when we start to see the content and see how this is stuff that I can take in one, day, and the very next day apply to my business and see it go to work. I mean, some people would say that in some senses is priceless, because not only are you getting a return on investment financially, but we all know that there's times as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, that sometimes you just kind of feel a little bit lost or kind of feel alone. And to have something to refer to, or to reach out a community, like you say, that you're wanting to build with this, that is priceless. I mean, I've been very fortunate to have these knuckleheads, to lean on and reach out to throughout the last couple of years. And I can speak from experience there. That is absolutely invaluable.
We've got a great support group. We cry, we laugh, all those things. Sean, you had a question?
Yeah, man. Alex, I'm going to fanboy out a little bit here. I started my my business at formed the LLC at the end of 2020. Officially kicked things off 2021. You were already pretty well established at that point with your company. Had a pretty good online presence, and you're definitely somebody that I looked up to as I was starting my business, and tried to gain a lot of pointers from your podcasts and all your social media posts and things like that. So it's pretty cool to me to see you putting this together and really kind of formalizing all the knowledge that you've gained throughout the years into one spot that people can access and learn and grow. But I want to kind of go back to the beginning a little bit here. Your background, you were in the church, and then you switched over to lawn care, and in 36 months, I think you said you went $250 to $500 to $1 million in sales. Where did you learn how to sell? Because that's not chump change, man. That's a pretty aggressive growth track, 100% for 3 years in a row. I mean, that's solid work.
My biggest thing is in year 3, I ended up being a $600,000 contract, and I had it for these last 5 years or whatever. And the way that happened, I'm not sure if I've really told the full story. I knew about this company. They were a big home builder company. And I was cutting a yard in one of the neighborhoods that they did and realized that all the houses that they were trying to sell were just overgrown. And I was like, well, that doesn't look good. If somebody wants to come see one of these houses, they're not in good shape. And so I figured out that the VP of the company, I somehow knew his daughter or something. So I messaged her on Facebook. I was like, hey, do you mind giving me your dad's number? I think I lied or fabricated the story. I was like, I ran into somebody that knows him and need to connect it or something. She gave me his number. So I called him and was like, hey, Mr. Patrick, I know we've met. I did meet him a couple of times before. I said, hey, I was driving through. I went right to, and this is something I teach people in sales. I went right to his problem. I didn't talk. I didn't say, here's who I am. I said, I was driving in your neighborhood this week and realized you had 10 lawns that weren't mowed. Do you have anybody that's doing that for y'all? He said, yeah. I was like, okay, well, please keep me in mind. Well, a month later, follow-up emailed him, and he had just fired the company the day before. So I always tell people, and I'll say this in my sales 101 course, is like, I don't always need to be hitting. I just need to be on deck. And so I was on deck, and I called the right day, and he called me. He was like, hey, go mow these 3 lawns. If you do a good job, we might give you more work. I literally dropped everything, ran over to this neighborhood, cut 3 lawns. And long story short, like 3 or 4 days later, all the guys who worked for them found out there was another company, like another contractor to pick from. Because I don't know if you've ever had a contract like this, but once they realize there's someone else, they just like, hey, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? I'm way behind, And so long story short, a week later, I was like, hey, I will buy a truck and 2 mowers if you give me this part of town, this contract with 10 neighborhoods. And he said, okay. So that changed my life. I ended up getting the whole contract 6 months later. And it was, like I said, we did $500 to $600,000 every year with them for the last 5 years. And so that goes back to sales solutions. Like literally I filled a solution for them and they never fired me because we fit the need they needed,
So you built this program and it's fascinating. And I love what the story's about. I love what it's for. It's not about you. It's everybody's program. I like the idea that you're completely open to growing the vertical of the business, whichever way it needs to. You mentioned snow plowing and all of these other ancillary services that are going to come up. And it sounds to me like you're going to kind of involve the contractors themselves, the guys like us in the program to help, to help everyone that's subscribing to the program learn something new from guys that are out there that are doing a really good job at it. Tell me a little bit about how you're going to measure that success.
So the biggest one is community involvement. So my hope is not to sell a lot of courses. I mean, that'd be great, but that would mean that people believe in the academy side, which is that's a weekly Zoom call. We're going to have an hour Zoom call a week that people can jump on and have a dialogue like we're having here and ask any question. We're going to have a private Facebook group that they can ask any conversation in. We're also going to have access to me. I'm going to if you're a part of the academy, you can text me anytime with a question. And we're probably going to do, I think it's like Marco Polo or something where you can send your audio questions into the app, Slack, some type of like we're trying to pick which one right now. But if you're familiar with those apps where you can conversate back and forth through a group as well. So that's another part of the academy. And then monthly, we're going to have a webinar with a respected expert, if you will. So you're going to get basically a free course every month with the webinar. So that's my main goal is if that is growing and people are seeing value in the academy, that's a win. That's the win for me. I want people to be a part of the academy more than I want one-time purchases of stuff. Now, being an academy member is going to get you a lot of perks off of everything. You're going to get a big discount. But my biggest thing was I felt like over the 7 years, we all talk to each other online, but there's no real place for us to all come together. Like, how do you pull everybody together and then also have it moderated? So like I'm in a couple Facebook groups that have 20,000 people, but there's like nasty negativity. There's bad advice. There's obviously people who are trying to make money off of people. So they'll like plug themselves, And so for me, it was like, okay, how do I get a group but moderate it properly to protect people? This was my answer for that. So I had this event at Equip, and I had 20 guys show up, and my goal was to just have like a community thing, but it ended up being a 3-hour discussion. Like next thing I knew, it was 3 hours in, and guys were just asking questions to me, mostly each other. And I was like, man, this is so needed. This community, like I'm so glad. I thought I was right, but it kind of proved that we need each other desperately in not just business, but trades. Like whatever trade you're a part of, there's always something new, different. I mean, for example, I'm going to do a course on Chat GBT next year. I want to teach tradespeople, lawn care guys, how to use these apps to better themselves, like Grammarly and all these things that they've never even thought about using before they send out a customer email. We're going to get feedback from the academy on what they want me to produce. Does that make sense?
It does. It does make sense. And I think you answered my next question, and that was regarding the one-on-one coaching. So you are going to have one-on-one coaching.
Yeah. That was the OG thing I did. I've coached guys Canada, Australia. I had a guy in Germany. I've always been a consultant type mind. I have other business ventures like people don't know about, but I'm actually like a sports agent in the disc golf space, if you guys know what that is. So I represent the number one player in the world. I have for 2 years. I basically am a consultant manager for him. So he went from 30,000 followers to 100,000. My team runs his social media. So like, it's a long story, but I'm really into that consulting space. I have ownership of a couple small companies in the disc golf world that, because I'm my consulting, they gave me equity. So that's where I started, just helping people think through. Consulting is helping people think through ideas, problems, and solutions in order to, go where they want to go. That's what I tell people. So I love that. I love helping people, man. That's my pastoral background. I just like helping. I like helping people reach their goals. I think it's really rewarding to. I have a guy that I did in Hickory, North Carolina. I did him 3 years ago. We did it in my program, and he called me, and he was at I don't know if you guys know, but there's a big plateau about 300 grand. That's like a big plateau a lot of people hit, because that means you have maybe one more crew, but it's like you and a couple buddies, and you never really had to. There's no scaling to that, and so a lot of people get stuck at 300 grand. And he called me. He's like, I'm at 300 grand. I've got 5 kids. I want to send them to private school. How do I scale? And I said, do exactly what I say. And this guy's like 45 years old. He's way older than me, bro. He's gonna hit 900 grand this year, and it was so rewarding for him to call me like last month and say, now I got 7 kids. He's got 7 kids, dude. And they're all in private school. He's paid cash for everything. And he's now pretty much got $1 million business in 24 months later. So there's no better feeling. You guys know, like helping people. That's why you do this podcast. You want to help people see the possibilities with the electric side, because everybody thinks it's like a boogeyman ghost thing, and it's not. It's a legit way to run your business.
Yeah. Well, we definitely know about the hate posts on any of those groups. Being an electric lawn care company, no one knows it better than we do.
Why is that? Like, why is there this weird stigma that like it's like a pansy way to do lawn care or something? Why is that?
Not sure. I mean, it's got a lot of stigmas. I think one reason for some of the hate recently is because of it's getting legislated where it's becoming a requirement, which like I think a lot of us like, I mean, it's back and forth, but I mean, a lot of us don't necessarily always agree with like it being legislated. It's like, there's more than one way to skin a cat.
It's not my style.
Who's to say this is the right way for this person, especially when it comes to messing with somebody's way that they're making a living.
But I just saw a stat yesterday about how a blower is one of the worst things, like a gas. I didn't even think about this. It was something like the decibels on a gas powered blower is some of the worst things for your hearing on the planet. I didn't even the stat was like top 5. And I was like, dude, I had no idea. My hearing is not that good because of using, I guarantee it. I've used the Red Max like top blowers for years, and those things are hurricanes on your back. And like, but bro, my hearing is not as good as it used to be.
Yeah, and that's been one of our big angles. All of our businesses, we're all zero emission companies, and I think when we all went into that, that was kind of our big focus was we're zero emission, carbon neutral, all these sorts of things. What we've learned having done this for as long as we have now is it's more about noise pollution. Our businesses are growing more rapidly as a result of noise pollution more than anything else. Granted, I mean, the zero emission thing it's helpful. The quality of life for the employees that we have is better. They don't have to wear the protective hearing that you're having to deal with yourself. There's less vibration in the tools because they're using brushless motors. They don't go home smelling like gas at the end of the day. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of advantages. With that comes a tremendous amount of challenges. But yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of pushback. And, as Jake had mentioned, these guys they're going to hold out as long as they possibly can. And I think every one of us are all on the same page. Like you are passionate about GreenUp Academy. We're passionate about building battery-powered electric lawn care businesses and landscape businesses.
I love that.
That's kind of our reward at the end of the day.
But like to my point, Stephen, like how does someone learn enough to feel confident to switch without a robust course on here's how you start, here's what it's going to cost, here's the way your setup should be? Like, I know you guys talk about it, but we're talking about hours long podcasts that not only do we talk about this, we talk about that. How do you have a button where you go, okay, my boss gave me, let's say there was a director of operations of a 25-man company, right? And his boss said, hey, you said this is like a cool idea. I want you to prove it to me. Go and find something that shows me the ROI and shows me how we would transfer. Because I had 35 weed eaters when I sold my company, 35. So if I'm going to do that, you're talking about a $30,000 investment, right? So whatever it is, blowers and weed eaters, we were like 50 something pieces of equipment. How am I going to have confidence to switch unless someone shows me visually? You can tell me all you want, but if I can watch you go, hey, watch how long this battery lasted today. And like, if I had a course, like you guys have me so excited to do a course on this. I'm serious because it makes me feel like it's a real possibility rather than people just saying, oh, well, here's why you should do it. Well, like, how do I know that?
Well, I mean, there certainly is a big learning curve. We've all failed forward, and it's great to see that the advances in technology. You guys saw that whenever you were at Equip a few weeks ago. I mean, it's predominantly they're rolling out all the battery powered gear just left and right. And the technology just continues to just get better and better and better. And with these timelines that are in place with legislation, I mean, most of these cities, communities, municipalities and such, they don't really have to make that transition until around 2030. And by that time, the technology is already it will have advanced significantly where it's going to be less of a headache. For some reason, we're gluttons for punishment in our businesses and have been, for a long time. There's been a lot of times I'm like, why do I do this?
Well, did you guys, I don't think you guys know this, but I've had a unwritten relationship with Bobcat for like that was my big thing. I was tight with them when they got bought out. I don't know if you know, there was a green Bobcat company that got bought by the white company. And that's why they have mowers now, because they bought the mower company. But I've gotten several pieces of equipment for free from them, and they've kind of used my company as like the test dummy company. So they actually flew down. This was like October. This was spring of this year. They flew down and sent me the new electric mower that they have that's coming out. And they gave it to me for a week, and because I have 10 acres and I have 6 acres of grass. And so they were like, we want you to run this thing, tell us what you like, what you don't like. Like, I get to be their person for that. And they flew their 2 big dogs in, and I loved it. Like, I couldn't believe. Now, there were some things, like there was a delay at the time. Like, there was about a half-second delay, and I didn't like that, obviously. But, like, you're right, Steven. Like, this thing is getting so good. The electric stuff is so impressive. But the problem is the cost, right? So, like, I was like, well, if it's like, I told them this scenario. If I could buy a gas for 10,000 and electric for 15 to 17, I would buy the electric. Because in 12 months, I would probably save $3,000 in repairs, belts. Like, this was a beltless mower, dude. It was crazy. I was like, okay, I can get my money back in a year. Like, I'll do it. But then it was like $25,000, you know, at the time. And I was like, well, I can't, the ROI is just not there yet. So you didn't know this, but I'm very fascinated by it.
It's definitely fascinating. I mean, you got any questions about any gear that's out there outside of that Bobcat machine? I'm a big fan of Bobcat myself. We about half of our business is landscaping. So anytime we have to do some earth moving projects or some grading on some properties for big sod installs, we do bring the Bobcats in.
I have an MT100 still.
I love that machine. The mini skid.
Yeah, I got the MT100, and I've got a Hydro Bucket, which is pretty cool, from CMP Attachments. Have you ever seen the Hydro Bucket before?
No, I haven't.
Hydro Bucket, you should look it up when we end. For anyone who's listening, Hydro Bucket's made by CMP Attachments, and it's like, you know, when you're doing because we were about 70-30. I had a full install team with my company. You know how when you're like pulverizing the old grass to get ready to prep for new?
Yeah.
You have to like get some people call it a Harley rake, some people call it whatever, but you have to get something that pulverizes it. Well, the Hydro Bucket, as you go forward with the bucket, it pulverizes, and then you can bat drag. So it's a pulverizer under the bucket.
Okay.
So it's not you don't have to get like rent a Harley rake and then get a bucket. It's as you're going forward, it's pulverizing, and then you can back drag with the bucket. Like, so you're talking about like double efficiency basically. So we got one of those from them, and man, it was so sweet. But yeah, Bobcat, I think I've spoken at their booth a lot of times at Equip. I can't say enough good things about those people. The people they hire, just good people. Like, they call them and just ask good questions, and yeah, whatever that's worth.
Great company. I mean, they're kind of the gold standard, right?
I think so. I think I would say them, and I know it's easy to say, but like, I had Red Max, and then I started switching to Stihl because I just felt like Stihl, your bang for your buck and the heavy dutiness. So like, Husqvarna owns Red Max, right?
I did not.
So the reason why Husqvarna started Red Max is because everybody thought Husqvarna. When you think Husqvarna, you think of a residential, brand, right? And so they combated that with Red Max, which was, no one knew, but it was their commercial line. And so we used Red Max forever. And then, the price was just so good for what you could get. And then the durability, we used our stuff, every day for 7 hours. And so we needed something that would hold up a little bit more. And I just always felt like Stihl was durable, would be the word I would say.
Yeah. I mean, that's been one of our struggles in the past, is the anxiety of worrying about what's going to break next. And we've been with Stihl for 6-8 months now, and I don't have that anxiety anymore. Granted, things do break like they all do, but not nearly as often as they used to. So it's peace of mind, right?
Yeah. My least favorite thing of being in the green industry, which there's only a few things I didn't like, is equipment breaking. Like thinking that, man, I can't make money today because this piece of equipment won't run. And then when COVID happened, you go from 3 days or 2 days to 3 weeks on equipment. Like, I end up having to buy so much. That's why I have so much equipment left from selling my company, because I had so much equipment that I had to have backups, because if something was in the shop, like, I had to have a backup. And I had 8 crews, so I ended up having like, for every 3 crews, we would have a backup crew worth of stuff. That was like my thing. So I had 2 crews worth of stuff sitting in a container at all times.
So, Jarmar, are you with us still? Did you have any questions for Alex regarding GreenUp Academy?
Yeah, I really don't have any questions, but I do want to touch on what he really wanted to talk about was the price and value. And again, I don't necessarily have a question about it, but I will say one of my best quotes from Myron Golden, and he talks about your biggest expense is your ignorance. right? And it's the stuff that you don't know costs you more money than you can imagine. And I'll give you an example of kind of where I am right now. I pay $1,000 a month for a similar program, and it's not from a green industry leader, right? And to me, that's cheap, because if somebody can give me some blind spots and uh, accelerate my progress and show me some corners, some things hiding around a corner that I don't know it's there, right? Like, it's that type of thing is invaluable. So, I don't know. I mean, if you think $900 is too much, it's probably not the program for you. You need to get out there and knock on some doors. But what it sounds like is you're targeting the guys that are maybe in that 300,000 range, and and up, and so I don't think it's too much at all.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because I actually wanted people to feel like it was cheap, because I wanted people to know, because people know me, people know I've had success financially in this game. Like, that's something I can't hide. I've never hid that. I've actually talked about it. I want people to know that you can make money in the green industry. So I was like, you know what? I'll tell people I made money. So I priced it at a point, Jarmar, that I wanted people to be like, oh, he's obviously not trying to make a fortune on this. Because there's a lot of courses out there right now from guys which are expensive and they have nothing to give. And I said, okay, I'm going to make it easy entry point, $139 a month to be a part of the academy. Any guy who's full-time can afford that. And after the first year, I'll raise the price based on the value that people's feedback, and I'll add more content, bonus content, all that stuff. But the first year, I want people to see that this is about building a community and giving people tools to make their businesses better. Because what I'm about to say is going to sound crazy. How in the world are we going to get ourselves up to a standard where people see us as welders, plumbers, electricians, if we don't have resources to make us feel like we're better, as good as those guys? Like, we've probably all had this experience, but I was in year 3 and did $1 million, and my wife and I still lived way below our means because we were saving cash to buy our land and house and build our house. And my family still thought we were like broke. And so my aunt comes to Christmas. She's such a sweet lady. And she goes, hey, I saw one of your trucks today. She's like, were you in my neighborhood? I said, well, one of my crews was. I had 5 crews at the time. She goes, you have employees? I said, yeah. She goes, I thought you were like a lawn guy. We've all heard that. And I was like, I mean, yeah, but we have 10 or 12 people. And this is like, we have full-time overtime and paid time off. And she goes, I didn't know people really did that in lawn care. And she was making my point of like, she thought it was, guys who just hustled on the weekends or whatever. And so, Jarmar, going back to your awesome point, is like, if I'm not helping build something that can give guys tools to tell themselves that they're worth more and their businesses can be legit and they don't have to work 70 hours a week and every Saturday. I worked one Saturday the last 4 years, guys. One. With 20 employees. Because we did the 4, I don't know if you guys know, but I was the kind of first one to go to the 410s model. I don't know if you guys knew that. I was frustrated one day and I was like, I hate working like 52 hours on the mower, like through Fridays. And then I came up with 410s. I was like, why don't we just do 410s? So if it rains, we can do it on Fridays and not have to worry about it. But Jarmar, I want everybody to realize this is possible. And for me, there's not an academy out there besides like a fanboy one or one that makes you feel cool because you went to it and you got a cool t-shirt and you hung out with people you see on Instagram. And that's no knock on anybody. I'm just telling how I feel. That really makes people feel like, you know what? I really can be respected. I can really hire good people. I can be wealthy. I can be generous. Like, you know what I mean? Like, where is that place right now? And that's what I'm trying to build.
That's real talk. If you got a business, you need to treat it like a business. And so I think you're hitting it on the head. And a lot of people, this is an investment just like anything, right? If you don't get up and go to work, you don't eat. And there's just things, just humble yourself. Just know, for me, like it's whatever it takes. I know there's a bunch of stuff I don't know. And I'm a little older too, and I got children. And my boy just turned 13, and I really don't have a whole lot of time to be just kind of playing around. And we're all on the mission. We got something that God's put in our heart to achieve. Let's get on and get to it. Life is too short. I'll tell you now. These guys know this, and I don't know if you listen to the podcast. I probably said it 100 times. But there's not a week that goes by that I'm not watching somebody take their last breath, or I'm pronouncing them dead, or not a single one of them woke up that morning thinking that was going to be their last day. Right? So stop playing around, get the information you need to get. Let's go ahead and get it. And I like what you're saying, bringing that professionalism to this industry. I'm all for it. Everybody knows I'm all for that. My clients know I'm all for that. When they try to call me a little lawn boy, I just look at them until they change their mind. And it works every time. And so no, I'm loving the direction you're going. I'm glad that you sold your business and you can be able to apply yourself to this side of things full time. I'm excited to see what you got coming.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. That's so. My wife, I'm on vacation right now, and my wife's grandparents are with us. They're 74 and 62, and so last night we were talking about. She's still working. She still works at her age, and I was trying to talk to her about. She has 17 grandkids, wants to spend time with them, all that, and so we were just talking about that. Is life is too short, man. Like, it's about impact, it's about legacy, and that's why I sold my business. I was at that point where I didn't have to do it anymore. If I wanted to, I wanted to do it. And for me, I like the marketing consulting help side more than I do the day-to-day of the lawn game.
Pretty fascinating stuff, Alex. A couple questions for you, unless anybody else has got anything that's immediately pressing. I've got a couple. Number one, how are you promoting GreenUp Academy right now?
Yeah, so we've got obviously I switched my social media to the GreenUp Academy, and I'm going to have a business Instagram for myself, kind of like a LinkedIn profile where people can connect with me. So there's that. We'd love to run a spot here. We're going to run a spot on a couple other podcasts. I have my podcast. A lot of people, I've had a pretty, it's kind of been a side thing, but I've had a pretty good podcast for a few years called the Down to Business podcast that got 500-600 listens an episode. It's switching to the GreenUp Academy podcast. So we're going to be talking a lot about business and questions that people ask. I'm going to answer a lot of those things on the GreenUp podcast. So, but really just social media and email marketing. And, we're going to have some affiliates and influencers, but nothing crazy right now.
Got it. So how do people sign up?
Yes, you go to our website, and what's really cool, if you go to our website, if you just sign up to be a part of the academy, you get your first month free, and you can cancel if you don't want to do it, but then you get our sales 101 course for free. So I wanted people to see what the course would be like, and taste before you buy, right? So that course is coming out. We're probably going to launch that course in 2 weeks. And then the rest of the courses come out mid-January. But you go to the GreenUp Academy and you can sign up and see our resources are going to be uploaded in the next couple of days. So everything's going to be there. We're also going to have funny merch too. That was something I wanted to do for fun. Is like I've always been like frustrated I couldn't find like funny lawn care like shirts. So like one of them's going to be, I'll tell y'all, I haven't told anybody, is going to be Mo Money, No Problems. So we're going to have like just like a funny merch line that's going to like, I have a girl working on that right now that I've always thought it was funny. Like I always thought to myself, like I wish I had like a funny lawn care shirt. I never really could find one.
I feel like Gerhardt actually came up with a funny saying for a shirt at one point. He's not here tonight. He would have been great. Any closing questions for Alex?
That was
Okay.
awesome.
I just got to say thank you very much. I really appreciate this time. I mean, I have a million questions, but, I feel like we're going to have you back on here. And
I would love to be on once a month or something if you guys would have me.
Yeah, well, we look forward to checking in on the success of the program. Alex Kirby, GreenUp Academy, we look forward to your success.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being with us tonight. It's Electric Lawn Talk.
Thanks for listening to Electric Lawn Talk. Don't miss the next episode. Be sure to subscribe, and while you're at it, help spread the word by leaving a rating and review.